the whole world believes that that Baccarat is the number one cheated game in the world by far. It's not even close. Roulette is cheated across the world 4 or 5 times more than Baccarat. Baccarat obviously is the most cheated game in Asia because I guess 80 to 85% of the gaming tables are Baccarat.
And high
So
margins.
yeah, and you read about like I mentioned before, you read about the baccarat scams. They're always for large amounts of money, where all the other cheating tends to be for smaller amounts of money. But if you add it all up cumulatively, there's more money being cheated at roulette across the world than baccarat. Now, a lot of people have trouble believing that, but when you go to Europe, it's complete opposite. The casinos, there's 60, 70% roulette wheels, and maybe they have a few baccarat tables.
So I want to go into aside from table games, which are a huge component. We've seen a huge rise of ETGs, and obviously slots have been a huge component of Vegas over the many years. How vulnerable are these electronic table games to any type of manipulation and then cheating?
Well, I could answer that question by asking you or anybody else. Uh, have you ever walked through a casino where the slots are and where the ETGs are? Have you ever done that? Have you
Oh
walked
yeah.
through there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You ever see anybody? You ever see anybody watching them from the casino? You ever see any kind of game protection taking place? Are the machines more or less all by themselves? And you know what? It tends to be the same way up in surveillance. They don't watch them either. So what makes what especially the non slot machine, the ETGs table games, nobody watches them. And then you have, there's sophisticated methods being used to cheat them, all high tech. One is called visual ballistics, where they use a prediction app that they bought off online, and they use a metronome. Like you would probably know what a metronome is because you're a musician, right? And that records, like it reports sound and reports tracking and all that. And there was I'll make this brief. There was a young kid. He was a Google programmer out of Australia about 5 years ago. His name was Eugene Wu, and he did just that. He was armed with a metronome and uh, a, a prediction application, right? And he went across, uh, places like Greece, Turkey, a little bit in Australia. Then he went to the UK, and he was just, winning lots of money. Like in 4 or 5 months, he cheated about $500,000. Okay. And now he was ready for the big time. He was going to the United States, and he was going to go, you know, do his thing there. But he made the mistake. He went to Quebec in France, excuse me, in Canada. He went to Quebec, and he went into a relatively small casino. He went Charlevoix, the Casino de Charlevoix in Quebec, and he used his equipment. He cheated them for 25,000. That's a lot of money in a casino like that. Then he went back 2 weeks later, did it again, and it took another $25,000. And then they got suspicious, but they had no idea what he was doing. So they decided to wait for him to come back a third time. And as soon as he did come back a third time, again 2 weeks later, they were filming them. They were ready, and they were filming them, and they saw him tapping on his cell phone like this. And they succeeded in busting them, even though they had no clue what he was doing. They busted him, and when I heard about that, I realized, had this kid, he was a genius, but he had no street sense. You don't go to a little casino in Charleroi to make $20,000 when Caesar's Palace and all these big giant casinos are in Las Vegas, where you take $100,000 out of there, it's nothing. I think he would have been the most devastating cheater in the history of legalized gambling had he had the brains, the street smarts. He would have made hundreds of millions of dollars. And as a result of him, all the manufacturers of ETGs immediately went to work on strengthening their vulnerabilities, with the machines. So and the slot machines, they're also vulnerable because they're not always vulnerable to cheating now. They're also vulnerable to advantage play, where guys can use high technology to actually know when the jackpot is a very good chance that, or a much better chance than what the odds would dictate, that the jackpot will hit. And nobody watches them. They have to handle their equipment. Sometimes they have a smartphone in their pocket in an unusual place where, if casino surveillance or game protection people just spent time walking around the slot departments, the slot areas, right? They would probably once in a while stumble onto somebody like who's just not looking normal. Like if somebody's holding two cell phones sitting while they're playing slots, there's something going on, right? And you don't see a person with two cell phones. But the bottom line here is that casinos just do not pay attention to ETGs and slot machines.
I mean, that also brings into question what is happening with AI. I know that you're going to have that be a big one of the components in the upcoming conference as well. Is the AI, is technology in general, but specifically talking about AI, is that weighted more in the favor of the people who are wanting to try and cheat, or to the people who are trying to make sure that they don't?
Letter A. The people it helps the people who are trying to cheat. Now, why? I mean, that's a very bold statement, because AI in itself, and I'm going to say this to you, Kelsey, that I will repeat this to you, that no matter how good the technology is, the human factor is what makes it work. Okay, like someone like me, I would say bring on all the AI you want. Okay, I don't care. Okay, because the reason is the AI gives you data, but the AI, as far as I know right now, is not capable of tapping you, Kelsey, on the shoulder if you happen to be a floor supervisor and you're standing in your Baccarat pit. The AI is not going to tap you on the shoulder and point you over there and say, look, that guy in the disguise, that's Richard Marcus. He's about to do a big cheating move on that Baccarat table, right? They're not going to tell you that. So what AI does is it gives information. It's data, information. So it comes down to in general, as far as cheating is concerned, do the casino people know what to do? Now, they do know what to do when they get the data for customer service. That's easy. It tells you what games people like, where you should have your tables placed. It helps with all of that. But does it really help with cheating? It should. Does it? Now, as of right now, not really. Facial recognition, we can consider that AI as well. Okay, facial recognition assists in identifying people that are cheaters, advantage players, and what have you, right? But how accurate is it? I mean, if I walk into a casino, they call it through a choke point. A choke point is the few areas in a casino where people have to pass through, and I'm wearing a cap, and I put my head down, or as I'm walking through, I start rubbing my face or whatever. How accurate is it? What percentage of these undesirables are they going to detect and be able to alert, surveillance, so their database, if the people are in the database, right? I don't know. But on the other side of this, the advantage of AI is that the cheats they're developing their technology right along with it, and they know how to use it, and they know how to, the data that they get from their technology, they maximize it as far as usage is concerned to 100%. Whereas what percentage of the value of AI, when we talk about cheating, are casinos really getting? I would say it's very, very low. So this is why it definitely favors. I always like to say, the higher the more technology advances, what happens? The human beings, they depend solely on that technology, and they forego training, they forego basic game protection procedure, right? And by the way, the fact that procedure is not enforced enough in these casinos, and part of that is that there's not enough supervisors per tables, right? But so as the technology goes up, guess what? The human factor or the human efficiency goes right down with it or against it. Mm-hmm. So it's no doubt that it favors the cheap.
And we've seen that extend from beyond the casino floor into some of these larger hacks, like we saw happen in Vegas last year as well. The companies are easily they're more easily penetrated via third parties than they are through their own system. So as soon as they've outsourced any of their operations to a third party system, then that human factor comes into play. Is there any way, I mean, given how much psychology you've used over the years and how much you understand how, you need to influence people in order to get them to act a certain way, is there any way that these casinos or these integrated resorts can eliminate that human factor? And that sounds wrong, sounds like Terminator, but you know what I mean, eliminate the possibility of risk from that third party human factor.
Okay, eliminate, no. Reduce drastically, yes. And it's two words, the T word and the E word: training and education. What happened in Las Vegas, the scam that happened at the Circuit Casino in Las Vegas, which is called social engineering, where the third party situation comes into play, and the result of it is that the target person who they have identified, these people that do these scams, these hackers, before they choose their target and everything, they do all kinds of research online, whatever they could find about their target person. So the target person is, at the Circle was a young female cashier in the cage, as far as I know, and they found everything out they could about her. You could find out so much, online. It's everything's an open book, and they decided she was vulnerable to be convinced that if somebody called her or texted her with the right manipulative language and everything, psychological, again, the psychological effect is always there. And they would be able to convince her that she had to get $1 million from the cage, walk it out the door, meet somebody behind the McDonald's, and pass off that money, thinking she was saving the casino from some great tragedy. And it's just psychological. It's all psychological manipulation, but it's the technology that allows them to do it. So the only way casinos can get anywhere near close to eliminating that is through training, education, strict procedures, simple things like one person should never be alone in vulnerable areas, like collecting money and and all that. It's just about tightening procedure and the training and the education, and you can never overtrain. You can never overtrain, because you also have, when you're training people who are working in casinos in important positions, right from the dealer to the person in the cage to the director of surveillance, you have to overcome the fact that, it's not their money, the employee's money, that's at risk, right? So, most employees, they want to do well. They want to protect the casino's assets, but they need direction. And globally, Kelsey, it is not there.
Well, I mean, speaking of training, that is one of the major aspects of what you do now. But also you have your conference that you founded coming up. It's going to be March 5th in Las Vegas, Global Game Protection and Table Games Conference. What are some of the main aspects of that do you think people should be coming to try and learn about this industry and how to protect themselves?
It's the same two words. It's training and education. We cover everything in table games. We cover table games. We cover new table games. We cover analytics. We cover marketing. We cover player development. We cover the relationship that table games departments need to have with surveillance departments. and the game protection side, we cover, and AI for both tracks. It's a 2-track conference, like you mentioned, table games and game protection, which includes surveillance, compliance, and security. And we have 50 different speakers, and they each speak about one aspect of it. It could be artificial intelligence, facial recognition, player development, how to get the right high rollers into your casino, and on the surveillance side, that they have to verify that these really are the right players that you're getting into your casinos, because a lot of the right players that you think are coming to your casino because they qualify for $1 million credit lines, they're the wrong players.
I want to ask you, do you miss it? And do you know if any of your former partners are still operating?
Yes, at times I miss it because it was really so much fun. More than the money. I mean, the money, we were making a lot of money. I started off making a lot of money right away when I got into this. It then became more of a challenge. And when we did, every time I invented a new move, especially the Savannah move, and when I actually saw it work, I conceive it in my brain as it starts off as a ridiculous thought. And then, I learned that the best casino cheating moves in history, including the Savannah, is ridiculousness is the best component of them. A kiss move, keep it simple, stupid, kiss. Yeah. That Savannah is an example of a kiss move. It's so simple and so stupid. And while I was doing it, the casinos, they thought I was. Like I mentioned before, they knew it was me. They knew I was cheating. They didn't know how. Later, I found out when I became a game protection consultant and I started working with the same people, or actually training the same people who were chasing me, trying to bust me. I found out from them that they were taking roulette wheels apart in Las Vegas, looking for electronic devices, even at that time, thinking that I had some kind of control of where the ball would land. And all I was doing, I was just betting the $10,000 or $5,000 on a roulette bet, even money or 2-to-1 bet. And if I won, I got paid. If I lost, I didn't let them take the money. And that was it. So, the first time the Savannah worked and they paid me in these, in their $1,000 and $5,000 chips, which by the way, have less wear and tear on them than the other chips because they're not used that much. And when you jiggle them in your hand, they have a different sound because of their newness and a different feel to it. So when I first got paid on that Savannah, when it worked, the feeling of the chips in my hand, and when I was walking away from the table right after I got paid, and I was jiggling them, it was the most intense high you could ever imagine. Better than sex, I swear. It was that good. I miss it, but I really enjoy what I'm doing now. So I don't think about it much, but it was by far the best time of my life. And the other part of your question, are my partners who are still doing it? Actually, now no, but they did continue working 4 or 5 years. Until actually it was about 4 years, because they knew I was writing a book about it. So I agreed with them. Look, I'm you guys, we're all in our 40s now. You guys can't do this forever. And without me, it was going to be a little harder because I was the leader. But they did succeed on their own. And I said, okay, I'm going to write the book. It'll probably be published about 4 years later, which it was. And then that's when they quit.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, yet again, I want to keep you here forever because there's so much that you could tell me, but I think we're going to have to cut it off for now. We will be happy to have you again very, very soon. Thank you so much, Richard Marcus, the world's most famous casino cheater and now a casino table games protection consultant. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me, Kelsey.